Hi, my name is Lynn and I'm an addict. And I eat rust for breakfast.
All right, Sunday night, just getting ready to make some dinner. And I watched Lynn making a breakfast out of the rusted bits from his GT6 this morning. I figured we could do a little bit better than that. Tonight we're going to be making a lentil shepherd's pie with a Duchess sweet potato topping. Stay tuned, we'll go through the ingredients. All right guys, let's go over the ingredients and the quantities for the recipe that we're creating tonight, this lentil shepherd's pie. Obviously, star of the show, you're going to need some type of lentil. In this case, I've got a green lentil. You could use a brown lentil. We have 600 grams of lentils. You're going to need an onion, or some onions. Right here I've got about 5 medium-sized cooking onions or white onions. You could use any onion you wanted, a Spanish onion, a Vidalia, it doesn't really matter, a red onion, just around the equivalent of 5 medium onions. We're going to be using fresh herbs in this recipe. We've got a few sprigs of fresh thyme, a few sprigs of fresh rosemary. We actually have some fresh bay leaves here, and we're going to be using some fresh Italian parsley. If you don't have fresh herbs, you can always use dry herbs. As an alternative, if you prefer, you can use something like this as a refrigerated herb paste. In this case, I've just got an Italian herb paste here. You can get this in like a herb de Provence as well. This just has a base of parsley, basil, oregano, and garlic in it. So you could use something like that. We're going to need a vegetable stock. So we've got 2 liters of vegetable stock here, purchased stock. You could make that if you wanted to, but this is a little bit more convenient for a quick dinner. So vegetable stock, 2 liters. We've got a half a cup of tomato paste. We have a half a cup of tahini. If you're not familiar with tahini, it's basically a sesame paste. We've got 2 teaspoons of Worcester at the back here. We've got 2 tablespoons of olive oil. We've got 2 teaspoons of good quality balsamic vinegar. This is an Italian balsamic vinegar. We've got 2 tablespoons of tamari sauce. If you're not familiar with tamari, it's a little bit thicker soya sauce. You could put soya in as a substitute for the tamari. The soya is a little bit more salty, I find. We've got about 8 cloves of chopped garlic. If you don't like garlic, don't put it in. If you like garlic, you could use more. We've got a tablespoon here of smoked paprika. We'll probably add a little bit of this into the lentils, and we'll save a little bit to dust the top of the casserole when it's done. We've got a quarter cup of salted butter, and this is to make the sweet potato topping. So a quarter cup of butter. We've got some milk here. This could be heavy cream if you wanted to, or 10% cream. We are going to be making this into a Duchess style, so that means we're going to be adding some egg yolks. So I have some eggs here we're going to separate, and we want 3 yolks. We've got about 3 sweet potatoes, medium size, sweet potatoes, and we've got about 5 medium-sized russet potatoes that we're going to be doing for the topping of this lentil shepherd's pie. Those are the ingredients. I think I mentioned salt and pepper. Salt and pepper, of course, will be to taste. So we've got some fresh cracked black pepper here and some sea salt standing by. Those are the ingredients. Let's get cracking. All right, just about ready to start here with our onions. We've peeled those. Forgive the shadowing on the cutting board. It is nighttime here and it's dark outside. And I do have all the lights on the kitchen, but unfortunately we're still going to get a little bit of shadowing here. So we've got our onions here peeled. All we're going to do is we are going to dice these in a medium dice, nothing too fine. These are going to cook down. We've got our pot on the burner, and we've got our largest cast iron enamel pot. So we've got that on low heat, just preheating. In the meantime, we'll get our onions diced here. So medium dice, something like that size will do. So we'll get all these onions diced up, and then we'll come back for the next step. All right, over to the stove. As mentioned, we've got our cast iron enameled pot on the burner, just on low currently. We're going to add our olive oil in, and then we are going to add our diced onions, and we're going to caramelize these. We want these to be golden brown. So we're going to turn the heat up to medium. We're going to keep an eye on these. We're going to stir them occasionally. Again, golden brown, not burnt. So caramelized, golden brown. As we work on this, we can work on our topping, which is going to be our sweet potato Duchess. So we can get those potatoes boiling in the pot over here. So let's go ahead and peel those up and we'll get those on the burner. Alright, sweet potatoes and russet potatoes are sliced. You'll notice that the russet potatoes are slightly larger than the sweet potato slices. The sweet potatoes will take longer to cook. I'm going to be cooking these in the same pot. We want to make sure that they're done at the same time, so the sweet potatoes are a little thinner than the russets. If you want to use something different, you could always use a Yukon Gold potato here. You don't necessarily have to even use sweet potatoes. You could do an all potato if you wanted to, all russets or Yukon Gold. And if you wanted to go something a little bit more wild and crazy, you could do something like a russet and cauliflower mash. All right, we've got a salted pot of water on the stove here. We're just going to get those sweet potatoes and potatoes cooking, and then we'll come back and we'll have a look at our onions that are almost completely caramelized and ready to go to the next step. All right, the onions are looking really good, so they're nicely caramelized. Again, we're creating a bit of a fond here on the bottom of the pot, just like you would have if you were searing off some beef. So that's where all the flavor is and all that caramelization. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add in our chopped garlic. So all the garlic goes in. Again, if you don't like garlic, use less or use none at all. But trust me, you'll miss it in this recipe if you don't have it. We'll just stir that in. We'll let that cook for a little bit. While that's cooking, we'll get our herbs ready. All right, let's get our herbs going here. As you can see on the board, I've got one rosemary sprig. So I was going to go with another one, but I think one's going to be enough. We don't want to overpower the dish with rosemary. We've got a few sprigs here of fresh thyme. And as mentioned previously, if you don't have fresh, you can always use dry. I'll try to give you an equivalency measurement once I get these chopped up. And in this case, I've got 3 bay leaves. We've got fresh bay leaves here, but you can use dry as well. So let's get these stripped off their stems, and you just basically pull these off like so, and we'll get these chopped up. We'll do the same with the thyme. Discard the sprig or the stems. You can actually keep those if you like and use them for a barbecue. Set them in a smoker and you get a nice rosemary or thyme flavor if you keep the stems in the freezer for the summertime when you get your barbecue out. Anyway, we'll strip these down, chop them up, and we'll add them to the dish. Alright, there are the chopped herbs, the thyme here on the right and the rosemary on the left. We've got about a tablespoon roughly of each chopped, and then we got our 3 bay leaves, so we'll go ahead and we'll add that to the pot, and we'll bring you back over there once we do that. Alright, back over to the pot. Those are looking fantastic. We're going to add a pinch of salt. We're going to season again at a couple of different stages along the way. And we're going to add our fresh herbs in here and our bay leaves. So we'll just get those in there. We'll stir those in and we'll come back for the next step. Alright, we're going to stir the herbs in and we're just going to let this cook for about another 2-3 minutes. Then we'll move on to our next step, which is the addition of the tomato paste. And then we'll eventually deglaze this pan with the vegetable stock. Alright, on to the next step. I'm going to clear a little space in the center of the pot here. Just move the onions to the outside. We got our tomato paste standing by here. Our half cup of tomato paste. We're just going to put this directly in the center of the pot. And we're just going to cook this tomato paste for a few minutes until that tomato paste slightly darkens. Then we'll stir it into the onions and we'll move on to the next step, which will be to deglaze with the vegetable stock. Alright, we've cooked that tomato paste down for about 3 minutes and it's a little bit darker as you can see. Let's stir in the onions. We got our stock standing by. We're going to deglaze up all the bottom of this pot. So let's go ahead and do that now. Add a little bit of stock in. And we're going to scrape the bottom of the pot, get all that flavor up. Scrape the sides of the pot down. We're going to add in 2 liters of stock total here. Just keep scraping the bottom of the pot. Alright, we'll add the rest of our stock in. We'll come back when that comes up to a simmer. We'll be back. Alright, that's just coming back to the simmer. So we're going to add some fresh cracked black pepper. And we're going to add some smoked paprika. We've got about a tablespoon of smoked paprika. We'll add about 3/4 of that in. We'll reserve a little bit for garnishing the top of the sweet potato Duchess when we get there. So add about 3/4 of that. And we'll save the rest. Stir that in. Wait for that to come back up to the simmer, and then we'll add the lentils in as the next step. If you don't have smoked paprika, you could always use just a regular paprika in here. If you wanted a little bit spicy, you could actually add a little bit of cayenne in here. Alright, as you can see, the pot's just coming back up to the simmer. So we've got our lentils standing by. Again, this is 600 grams of green lentils. You could use brown if you wanted to. I think 600 grams converts to about 1 pound 5 ounces. Anyway, let's add those lentils in. And we'll give those a quick stir. These lentils will cook for approximately 30 minutes. You don't want them to be totally mushy. You still want them to have a little bit of tooth to them. So we'll monitor these, but it should be about 30 minutes before these are cooked. We're going to leave the lid off, and like I said, we'll give them a stir occasionally. You don't want to stir them too often. You don't want to make them mushy. So there we go. We'll come back in about 30 minutes time. In the meantime, quick look at our sweet potatoes and potato mixture. That's almost done. So while this is cooking over here, we'll have a look at the potatoes. Once they're done, we'll take them off and mash them. I'll bring you back when we get to that point. We want to mash them a little bit early and let them cool down a bit before we add our egg yolks in, because we don't want to make scrambled eggs out of our egg yolks. So we'll come back when we get to that stage. Getting close. Alright, our sweet potato and russet potato mixture here is nicely softened. So we're just going to drain those in a colander. We'll put them back on the stove in the pot just on low heat. I like to dry them out that way a little bit, just for a few minutes. So we'll go ahead, drain them, return to the pot, let them dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so just on a very low heat, we'll let those sit there and dry a little bit. You can see that they start to turn white. Anyway, we'll let them steam off and dry. Again, burners on low. And we'll only do that for probably 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll just let them sit before we move on to the next step. And a quick shot of the lentils. They've been on for about 15 minutes now. We've got about 15 minutes left in the braising time. We just gave them a quick stir. Okay, potatoes are steamed, ready to go. We'll move on to the next step. Alright, here we go. So we're going to start with some seasoning. A little pinch of salt. We already added salt to the potatoes when we did the water, so we'll just be careful with the salt content. We've got some black pepper here. A little bit of black pepper. Now, the next thing is I'm going to be adding in milk. Now, if you wanted to make this a strict vegan, obviously you couldn't use milk. You could use something like a soya milk or an almond milk for that matter. This is going to have a little bit of nuttiness in the lentils from the sesame, from the tahini, so you could actually use an almond milk in here if you really wanted to. In place of the butter, you could obviously use something like a margarine or plant-based butter. So we're going to add our butter in here. This is 1/4 cup of butter. We'll let that melt out down in the potatoes. I don't normally add my milk in until the butter is liquefied, and we mash that in a bit. We'll get our masher here. Now, if you had a potato ricer, you could actually put these potatoes through a ricer. I don't have a ricer here at home, so we just got a regular old masher. So we'll get these as smooth as possible. I like to mash them a little bit and then just let the butter sit in there and melt before we continue on. So anyway, you guys know how to make mashed potatoes. This is just mashed sweet potatoes. We'll come back after that butter's melted a little bit before we add milk. Alright, butter had melted in. So we'll continue now by adding in our milk. Just want a nice creamy consistency. We'll just add a little bit of milk at a time. We don't want to make it too creamy. You want it to have some body. That's probably enough milk there. Mash it a bit more before we switch to a spoon to combine this a little bit better. That's looking pretty good. So what the plan is now is we're going to let this sit and cool for a little bit while the lentils are continuing to cook before I add my egg yolks in. Again, I don't want to scramble my yolks, so we'll let this cool down a little bit. We'll stir it occasionally just to help it cool. And when I add the egg yolks, we'll add our chopped parsley in here for some additional color as well. There's my neighbor Les coming for dinner. See, Les always seems to know when I'm cooking something. He shows up at the door. Anyway, we're going to switch to a spoon here. Whip that in. It's looking pretty good. So again, we'll let this cool, and I'll bring you back for the next step on the sweet potatoes. All right, just coming up to the 30-minute mark. The lentils are almost done. The sweet potato mixture has cooled off enough that we can add our egg yolks. So we've got those here. So again, we're going to do 3 egg yolks. So we'll just add those in, mix them in. Again, this is room temperature almost now. So just mix those egg yolks in. We've got our chopped parsley standing by. So this will help the potatoes to brown up nicely once they're under the broiler. So we've got about 3 tablespoons of chopped parsley. We'll add that in for some color and some flavor. So we'll call the sweet potatoes done. We'll move back and finish our lentils and add the remaining ingredients. Alright, back with the lentils, and we're just going to finish them up. So there's what they look like after 30 minutes of braising. We'll do our best here to remove the bay leaves out, if I can find them really quickly here, before we move on to the next step. Okay, 3 bay leaves are out. So now the first thing we want to do is we want to add in our tamari. So here's the tamari going in. This is going to give it a nice creaminess. We can add our soy sauce in, our tamari sauce. We can add our balsamic vinegar in. And we can add our Worcester in. Now, if you wanted to make this completely vegan, as mentioned, you couldn't use Worcester. That's an anchovy base. So you'd have to find a vegan Worcester. It is available on the market if you look for it. So there you go. Let's combine this, mix it in. That's going to give it quite a bit of flavor, and again some creaminess with that sesame puree or paste, the tahini. Don't over mix it. Again, you don't want to make it completely mushy. You do want it to be a little bit creamy. So that's looking good, smelling wonderful. So that looks good. Let's move on to the finishing step of putting this into a casserole and applying the sweet potato Duchess topping. Alright, going to be a little tight for space here on the cutting board, but we can manage. So got a couple of different serving dishes. Again, I'm going to do these in individuals. You could do these as a large casserole, but I'm a single guy. I prefer to do them in individual portions. So got an oval casserole here. We'll probably do some round casseroles as per usual. So what we'll do is we'll add some lentils into the base. Again, don't add so much that this is going to overflow in the oven. So just a nice layer in the bottom. That's looking good. And we'll get our sweet potato Duchess here. Now you could pipe this on if you wanted to make it look a little bit more fancy, but I like just spooning on, make it a little more rustic looking, let's say. So you can put as much or as little of the mixture on top. I like it fairly thick on top, so we'll just spread that out. So that's looking pretty good. This is going to spread a little bit as it bakes. So anyway, we'll do the same thing for all of our remaining casseroles. I'll tell you how many I get in the end, just so you can get an idea how much this makes as far as individual casseroles are concerned. I'm sure Les is going to enjoy one with me, so we'll pop this in the oven. As soon as I get 2 made, we'll pop them in and put them on 375. We'll bake them for about 25 minutes or so. Probably put them under the broiler for another 5 minutes to get that top golden brown. When you want to see it bubbling around the outside, you'll know it's done. All right, we were able to make in total 3 of the oval and 2 of the round. One more thing, remember we reserved that smoked paprika. Again, we just want to do a little garnish on top. We'll just add a little pinch of that smoked paprika. It'll give us a nice little color and a little bit of flavor on top. So I've got 2 in the oven, and we'll pull them out shortly, and we'll have a look once they're baked. All right, it's just come out of the oven. As you can see, it's browned nicely on top. It's got a little bit of a crust to it. You notice I've got a little sauce here on the side. I like to actually serve this with a little bit of brown sauce, as the English call it, HP sauce as I call it. So that kind of goes nicely with this on the side. I think I'll just show you a little scoop of this as it comes out of the dish. So there you go. Lentil shepherd's pie. Bon appetit.